All right, hey, this is Robert Monroe here. I'm standing because I got a wiggly assistant with me. She's going to keep me on track, keep me on my toes, literally. But I just wanted to throw out, let's like this video. Let's throw a comment about what you want me to talk about next. I may listen to it, I may not. I'm kind of just on a roll, just vibing with whatever. But today I wanted to talk about zero-sum games. So let's first define what that really is. So the idea is basically when everything is added up, we don't ever get to add anything more to that. If you want to make it think like that. So example of a zero sum game would be there's 3 people and 1 cheeseburger. So no matter what, we can divide up that cheeseburger, but now everybody's getting less cheeseburger. One person can have the full cheeseburger, but now 2 people are left hungry. So this is actually a very common way to think about most of the problems in the world, is that it's a zero-sum game. If somebody is eating, it means somebody else is starving. First of all, this is just untrue. If you look at a small enough sample size or a big enough sample size, yes, you can make the case that it's a zero-sum game. So if you look at the entire Earth, that is a closed system. We're not going to necessarily get any more resources. I guess you could think about meteorites and sunlight. So maybe you'd have to go out to the solar system to say it's a closed system. But at some point, you get to a closed system where nothing's going in, nothing's going out. That makes it zero-sum. Then you could also talk about a very tiny analogy like my burger analogy. But most things in life are in between those two things. So when we talk about zero-sum, we're really doing ourselves a disservice. And where I hear it most is in career and in advancement and in sometimes even relationships. And so let me talk about that a little bit. So let's talk career for a second. As musicians, if he gets that gig, I won't get it. Now, again, this is why it's so tricky. As a zero-sum idea, that is actually 100% correct. If he is the piano player for, say, an Eagles tribute band, I can't be the piano player for that same Eagles tribute band. But the way the world works, if he does a great job and people love this tribute band, there will be more demand for tribute bands, and I might actually get a job because he's the tribute band for Eagles and does a great job as the piano player. Kind of a weird concept to get around your head, but it's true. So there's the first one, just this general career idea. How about like personal advancement? Let's say that somebody gets a promotion that you were looking for or some, particular advancement in a very specific field. Again, obvious zero-sum applicable environment. If they have it, you don't have it. But let me say 2 things to that. One is office organization and organizations in general are just man-made systems that are meant to be changed all the time. So that could change. The other thing, though, I just heard this story recently and I loved it, is the pastor was talking about how he was waiting for his promotion. Everyone else got promoted. There probably was some level of racial, consideration going in. And then his boss pulled him aside and said, yeah, actually, I need to go back home, so you need to become my position. So he ended up leapfrogging all of those jobs and moving into a completely different position. A little tangent from our zero-sum, but just giving you the idea that most of this zero-sum thinking is this tiny little box. We're just putting ourselves in this little tiny box, and the problem with that is that's just not the way the world works. That's not the way that we need to be thinking about this stuff. So let's talk about that last one, relationships. This, I think, happens a lot in couples where, okay, if she's getting what she wants, then I'm not getting what I want because it's a give and take, it's a compromise. No, I think win-wins are possible in all of these situations. So I want to go back to the music aspect for a while because that's the one I'm most familiar with, and give you guys a really cool story of something that happened in my college town. So when I first showed up to Iowa City, it was kind of a still pretty vibrant musical town. There were jazz jams. There were other types of jam sessions, I think 2 times a week. And music was happening pretty regularly. No one was getting paid very well because it's a tiny college town, but at least music was happening everywhere. And restaurants would have live music, and that was a good place to get paid. Well, that died off within a year or two of me showing up because they passed a 21 ordinance, which basically kicked out, roughly 40 to 50% of all the people who were at restaurants, and bars after like 8 or 9 p.m., which was when all the live music happened. You can't have a jazz jam because now any players you had under 21 now can't go. They later changed some rules that let you get in if you were just going to play music, but that was pretty devastating to the whole thing. So enter in these 2 amazing Brazilian musicians that came for their graduate degree, Zay and Marcelo, and they just went on a tear. They went to every restaurant owner, talked to them, and said, hey, you should have some live music. Let me play for you. I'll just play for a meal, like very low wages. Just get their foot in the door. That one act changed the vibe of the entire town. And then there were gig opportunities. And here's the thing. Again, you might be sitting there and you going, oh, he went to that restaurant. He got the gig. Now I don't have the gig. Not so, because he went to another restaurant too, got the gig there as well. That gig pays better. So he's going to play there. Well, guess what? Now the one that he did before, that one's open too. And let's just think for a second too. None of these opportunities were there before the conversation was made. So all of it was brand new things that you could do. So the point that I'm trying to make is, like all of these little sayings or analogies or things that stick in your brain, zero sum is important some of the time, but most of the time we need to be thinking of a win-win, everyone can make it through this sort of mentality. Now, that also is a flawed thing, and I might talk about it in a future video. But in terms of career, in terms of mindset, it's so much more powerful. Because if you're just sitting here begrudging someone else for getting something that you weren't able to get, or feeling bad about something you got that now someone else can have, that's going to lead you to exactly nowhere. I'm Robert Monroe. This is a cute little baby, and you guys have a great rest of your day.